Hey, what's going on, Nostalgics? It's me, Ryan, here from the Nostalgia Factor, coming at you again with another episode of When Nerds Collide. Today's featured nerd on the channel, guys, is a guy that I've known for quite some time here on YouTube, known as the Lair. He's a really cool channel. I've done a couple things with him in the past on other channels and on his own channel, so today, guys, I figured we'd get together for a collaboration and do a gaming interview of sorts. I've done several interviews on another channel that I have. But I figured I'd change it up because this one's going to be all gaming. So let's delve right into his gaming past, including favorite games, games that he's nostalgic for, disappointing games, and overall his gaming history. So let's get started. So what was the first video game that you ever personally played, that you can remember anyway?
I can't exactly remember what my very first video game I ever played was. It's a little bit fuzzy, but the one that comes to mind every time I think of, my earliest days of gaming is probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project on NES. This game is an instant classic, and if you're into the side-scrolling beat-em-up games, you'll definitely love it.
So what got you into doing video game content on your channel and just collecting and loving video games in general?
So I think the reason why I started collecting video games is because when I was growing up, my parents had a very clean and organized, tidy house. They didn't want me to have an accumulation of a lot of shit in my room, and I think they just didn't want me to become a hoarder or like a pack rat or something. Here's a picture of my actual room from the 90s. There's my Sega Genesis with Ren and Stimpy on the TV, so, true 90s kid, woo! And I started playing video games because, well, they're fun!
Of all the games that you can recall playing, what would you say has been a memorable moment in a video game?
So the most memorable video game moment for me that stands out isn't really something that was in a game. I mean, I have those, they're great, everyone has them, but something that kids from the 90s remember vividly is playing Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis. When this came out, it blew my fucking mind. Like, the blast processing, how fast the game was, how awesome the music was, how cool Sonic as a character was. It was just awesome. So yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog, if you've played it back in the day when it first came out, even today it's still, impressive. Yeah.
What's your most disappointing game? Not necessarily a terrible game, but just one that you personally found disappointing.
So I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this next one, or maybe not, maybe you feel the same way as me, but probably one of the most disappointing games, not necessarily because it's bad, just because it strayed from what I thought it was going to be compared to, how the first one left off, and that is Kingdom Hearts 2. I know I'm horrible, but for me, it just added so many unneeded characters, and you really didn't know what was going on unless you played Chain of Memories on, the Game Boy Advance, I believe it was. That was an in-between kind of card battle game, which I really liked, but when this one came out, this was the start of the downward spiral of Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion. The first one was perfect. If this never even got made, I would probably be okay with that.
So what's an all-time favorite video game of yours that you've played throughout your life?
Oh my god, you realize that question is like asking someone what their favorite movie is, or I don't know if that's hard for other people, but for me it is, so I'm just going to pick one that's probably in my top 20 favorite games of all time, and that is Wild Arms 2 on the PlayStation 1. This game is super nostalgic for me. I could play it over and over and never get bored. It just has great gameplay, great graphics, great music, and it's just all around a great game, great series. So I'm just going to go with Wild Arms 2.
What style of game would you say is your favorite, such as platforming, RPGs, that kind of thing?
So I think my favorite style of video game or genre would be role-playing games, 2D side-scrolling platformers. I like shoot-em-ups, and even racing games, That's a kind of a weird one for me because growing up I didn't really enjoy racing games all that much. I was still into RPGs back then. That's kind of just the main genre that stuck with me is role-playing games. So I'd go with role-playing games.
What music would you say has been your favorite in a video game? Either a specific track, composer, or just the game?
Ooh, that's a tough one too. I really like a lot of the old Super Nintendo music. maybe some Castlevania, Mega Man music. But the one that really stands out to me when I think of video game music, and when I think about it, it makes me feel nostalgic, is not this game in particular, but the franchise as a whole is the Phantasy Star franchise. And a lot of their music was very different, especially in the offline role-playing games on like the Sega Genesis and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really kind of spacey, cool, chill music. Really love that stuff. Yeah, Phantasy Star series music.
What game would you prefer to see have a remake or a remaster, and why would you want that game to be remade or remastered?
There's so many different games that I would want them to remaster. I'm not really big on remakes because half of the time those remakes are going to kind of tarnish the original games, and I don't want to play a crappy new version of a game that I really love. So I'm all for remastering, like the Spyro series and the Crash Bandicoot series that they remastered. They made it look beautiful, and they're the same games essentially. So I think the one that I would probably remaster and put it on the Switch is Mystical Ninja on the N64. Now, I don't have the American copy. This is the Japanese copy, because the American copy is extremely expensive, like all of the games in this franchise. Their beloved franchise, everyone loves Mystical Ninja. But yeah, I just really loved this game, and I think it would be an awesome Switch game to remaster. Even put on the Virtual Console. You know, I'd like to have a physical copy, you know, obviously, but, you know, I'd take a remake just digitally. Yeah. Thanks for having me on your channel, man. It's always a pleasure doing collabs with you. I wish you all the best with your new gaming channel in the year of 2019. So I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for the collab, dude.
And that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you nostalgics did enjoy it. Big thanks to Lair for being on here. He's an awesome dude. He makes a ton of great content, similar to what I'm doing here on the Nostalgia Factor, except he has way more professional editing and whatnot, but don't use that as a shot against me. But either way, Lair puts a lot of work into his videos. I highly recommend you guys go and check out his content. Check out his channel, link in the description down below. And thank you for tuning into this video, Nostalgics. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want to catch more upcoming gaming content that we have coming your way. And that's all for now, guys. And until next time, Nostalgics, keep on gaming. And thank you again, Lair, for being on here. You're a great dude.